Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by a wellness and resiliency coach, Patricia Gent. Patricia is also a registered nurse, a yoga instructor, and we're going to be talking about her company, Resiliency Reframe, and all that they do to help people connect mind, body, and spirit. Patricia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Curtis.
Why don't you start off by telling the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So, like you said, I've been a nurse now for almost 19 years. And I would say maybe about 5 years ago, I just remember feeling like I was constantly tired, constantly, feeling stressed, and really trying to figure out what was next. But I just knew that even though I had everything that I wanted or I thought I wanted, I wasn't feeling like I wanted to feel. I never felt kind of just relaxed or at ease. And so I kind of was like, all right, let me start to explore this. And the first thing I really thought of was, I was a very type A personality, very perfectionistic. And my first thought was like, you know what, maybe we just need to kind of change, how I work out. Maybe I shouldn't be doing all these weight trainings and spin classes. Maybe I need to do something that's a little more relaxing. And that's when I started exploring into yoga. And, I was doing yoga and I was doing it, consistently. And for the most part, originally, I can't really say I had a real change or anything that was truly different. And I just kept digging though and trying to find out what worked for me. And then one day I was flipping through Mind Body Green, and I got their email updates, and the title said something about elevating your frequency. And that just sounded really interesting to me. And I was like, well, I've been trying to reduce stress and, reduce anxiety and, create more relaxation. But, maybe I do need to look at it from a different approach of how do I elevate my frequency? And I read the article, and after the article, there was basically a video attached to it. And the article was written by, and the practice was done by a teacher named Guru Jaquette. And she taught Kundalini yoga. And she was actually talking about the science and the technology that was behind Kundalini yoga, how it really activates our glandular system and our nervous system, and, how it creates our own internal, healing in our own body. And it was just by using not just the physical practices, but also some mantra, which is the chanting. And there's also a lot of breath work. So the next thing I knew, honestly, is I just started doing this practice. Never did it before in my life. It was definitely very different. But I finished it and I was just like, wow, I felt different. And from there, I was pretty much hooked. Just started diving in more and more to it. Within 3 months, I was signing myself up for teacher training before even taking an in-person class. And really, that's really kind of the basis for a lot of the work I do, is really getting out the teachings of Kundalini yoga and how it can really help us heal.
So speaking of Kundalini yoga, what's the difference between that and other yogas? I thought it was only one type of yoga. Kind of tell us.
There's actually numerous types of yoga. I probably couldn't even go through all of them. But just to name a few, like a vinyasa is more of like a flow. Hatha is more of you're holding different postures for a certain period of time. Kundalini yoga, though, in itself, it is termed the yoga of awareness. And it's termed that because what it does is it brings what's in the subconscious into consciousness. So I like to think of it as we all sometimes have stress and we'll feel it in our bodies. So over time, we've all experienced stress or trauma, even if it's something that's minor. And if it's something that hasn't been, really like investigated or involved or dealt with, it can sit in our bodies and sit in our own body system. So Kundalini yoga actually kind of helps to shift that energy and move that stress, those responses from the body. But at the same time, we also are really working with our mind to really bring us into the state of neutrality. So working with the positive mind, the negative mind, the neutral mind to bring us to that neutrality. So really Kundalini Kundalini is energy, and it's the energy that is within all of us. So Kundalini yoga is really us learning how to harness our own energy for our own healing.
Well, you talk about being a wellness resilience coach. Explain to a person what that is and what that means.
Oh, sure. So, the word resilience, I really brought that into play because I feel like in a lot of our society, that term resilience has kind of been bastardized. It's very much been watered down to mean you get rest and you get exercise. And I think that that's something that I was trying to do in the very beginning, right? I was trying to make sure I got my sleep and I got my exercise, but then I really did not necessarily feel energized. So when I look at resiliency, it's really more than just our rest and our exercise, but it's also us getting our own internal alignment and getting our own energy. So when I term that, is that for us to have that resiliency, we do need to have our optimal wellness. And wellness isn't just the physical, it's also, the mental as well as the emotional and spiritual.
Tell us about the company that you founded and what your company does and why you feel like it's so important in the world today, and how does it help people?
Sure. I think that I founded it because I think a lot of, women in particular and a lot of people have been, trying to work really hard to, achieve, different things in different areas of our life. And then a lot of times we get there, we just don't feel fulfilled. So, my tagline, I would say, is I try to help the type A woman cultivate type B practices so she can, chill out and enjoy life. And I work with some women one-on-one. A lot of it's just some, coaching, as well as integrating some of these practices, specifically some breath practices, to really kind of help, calm your mind and bring yourself into kind of a more neutral space. Things that they could try and integrate, not just on a daily basis, but also things that they can integrate in real time, even just for a couple of minutes a day. I also do teach, yoga routinely at a studio. I do hold lots of different workshops in different areas and locations as well. And most currently, I'm actually working with Super Health, and Super Health is a nonprofit organization. And I actually got a certification through them on utilizing Kundalini yoga for breaking behavioral patterns and habits.
In your bio, I see that you're a Lean Sigma green belt. Explain to people what that is. Is that dealing with martial arts?
Yeah. So actually, it seems like it's out there, but this is, I think, where it helps. So I got a Lean Sigma green belt when I was working as a nurse, specifically as a manager at the time. And with that, we really are looking at systems and processes, and we want to essentially remove waste and create efficiency. So when we kind of look at our own individual lives and we really look at our own individual health and wellness as well, I think nobody has, quote unquote, or wants to always utilize, quote, more time in the day, but it's really about how can we reorganize and really do things that we feel like excite us and provide us a lot of value and a lot of excitement. So I do feel like that skill really does help, because a lot of times people have this initial reaction that they don't have time to do these things. But really, when we start to kind of dig down into it, we are able to kind of reorganize some aspects in our lives. And a lot of times it's just getting our own self-empowerment to speak for ourselves and communicate what our needs are. so we can make taking care of ourselves a priority in our daily life.
Well, you just published a book. So tell us about your book, how people can get it, and what to expect when they read it.
Sure. I'm part of a multi-author book called Legacy Speaks. It is available on Amazon, and it's 25 women and all of us basically telling our story of what kind of legacy that we wanted to leave. And what I think is just so amazing about that book is everyone has a different story, but as you read it, you'll definitely see different themes of everyone kind of coming into their own self-empowerment, everyone, realizing how much that's them trying to think about what they want to leave behind really invigorated them to make the changes that they needed to make.
Well, I'm probably going to say this word wrong, but I know you help people with resilience and yoga and also the Akashic. Is that right?
Oh,
Explain what
Akashic
that is.
Records. Yeah. So the the Akashic Records is essentially almost like the database, right, of all of your soul and its journey. So when I was first exploring Kundalini yoga, I really was just, for lack of a better word, throwing spaghetti on the wall. I was just really interested in trying and learning anything that I could, and I was really being open to having different experiences. And one of the ladies that was part of one of our groups, she was an Akashic reader, and I thought that was interesting. So I went to her, and I just thought it was just a very interesting reading. It seemed very like on point, but also unintrusive. And it was just something that absolutely fascinated me. So, later on, she did a little course. And what I thought was just really interesting is that it's just like you're tapping into yourself before you had like the tar of the world put on you. So it's more like you in your true form, your true, your soul at its purest. And, I don't really do a lot of the readings. It was just always it's something that I can do, but it's something that I think more than anything just truly interests me. And it was something that I wanted to experience.
Do you have any upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about?
Oh, sure. So actually, I think the big one is I'm actually finishing up right now is a 40-day workbook slash journal. So in Kundalini yoga specifically, we're doing a lot of work with habit creation and trying to create a new experiences within your body as well as within the outside world itself. So in the Kundalini yoga technology, it takes 40 days to create a new habit, or in other words, create a new experience. And they also have different aspects that happen at 90 days. It's then embedded in your subconscious. However, the 40-day journey is really the first way to kind of start, the experience. So I'm actually finishing up, and I actually have it actually out. So for beta testing right now with a workshop I just did last week. So I'm hoping pretty soon it's going to be out of beta testing, and it will be something that people can get. But it's a 40-day journal and workbook, and it helps walk you through the steps that you can take to start your own 40-day experience utilizing Kundalini yoga and how to start your own practice. So it's also the yogic portion as well as the practical portion, as well as space for you to journal your experience on a daily basis, as well as some reflection afterwards on what that experience looked like and how it transformed you, and also some resources and what you can do next if you want to continue your journey.
Yeah, but that's about starting a mini TV series for
I
your
don't
courses.
think I don't think we're doing, not just yet, not just yet.
Well, if you do, let me know because I'm part of a network that's on Amazon Fire and Roku, and we can have access to millions of viewers for many TV series.
Okay, that sounds very interesting.
Can you give us your contact information, your social media? How can people connect with you to check out your services?
Sure, you can definitely follow me on Instagram. And my name on Instagram is at resiliency reframed. My website is resiliency reframed.com, or you can email me at hello@resiliency reframed.
You got any final thoughts before we close it out?
I just really hope that everyone, if you feel like something is missing, if you feel like something is off, please listen and trust yourself, because those feelings that your body is telling you, that's its way of communicating with you. So take a listen and trust yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, Patricia Gent at resiliency.reframe.com. Make sure you check her out. Also, be sure to follow, rate, review, and share after listening. And Android listeners, go to the Google Play Store and download the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast app. Patricia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Curtis.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.